I thought it was gonna be like a surprise.
And then from there, you see next to the live, sorry, Ross. That's the bridge. Go back up on where the picture is. Yep. And then from there, bingo. You see next to the live, sorry, Ross. Go back up on. There you go. Oh, you tell them. This is what happened.
Going 2.1
That way I have both going on.
Right. Double work that.
Long as it is. That is next.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Oh, thank you.
Muted though, isn't it?
No.
So you want to go to Zoom and you want
Go
to
to
just
Zoom.
mute the. Yeah, just mute.
Councilman Jordan. Okay, the roll call.
Morning, Joanne.
Was it names?
Yep. Tom Arnold is excused. I think Tim is coming, but maybe later.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, going on to number 3, approval of the agenda for today's meeting and the minutes for our last meeting. Can I get a motion for that?
I so move.
Okay, Mill makes a motion. Can I get a second? Second by Rose. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Public comments, there is no one here from the public to make any comments, so we will move on to the approval of provider contracts.
Yep, so there's a substantial list of the contracts that were included with your packet. So you're going to see a bulk of 2023 contracts that were prepared as we go into this year.
Any comments or anything you want to make on any before we take a motion to approve them? Okay.
Excuse me, is there anything out of the ordinary or is anything different? So, since I haven't read through them all.
No, there's a couple new providers. For example, Sensory Club of Green Bay is a new provider that we'll be using in children's waiver. But as far as I can see, all of the others have been utilized in 2022 as well.
I think we did one, and I don't know if it's on there, Penny, for your thoughts, is a new CPS contracted provider. Otherwise, the other ones were all 2022 contracted providers.
And just-
Contracts that, or providers that you're very satisfied
Yeah.
and fulfilling the obligations and mandates that are necessary to be taken care of.
Correct.
Thank
And the
you.
new one that we've added,
Okay.
we're in a consortium with Dorr and Shawano County. They've used that provider and they come highly
Okay,
recommended.
excellent, very good.
And just as to add on to that, so the amounts that are there is not a guarantee that all of those funds will be spent with that provider. A lot of times, these are placeholders for a contract that if the need is for those services, then the contract is already in place. And therefore, the services can be provided. If it's going to go beyond that contract, then the committee is again made aware from the monthly standpoint as to where those contract levels are. But if you were to add up all of that, you'd be going, does the county spend that much on all these providers? Usually not. But we have these contracts in place so that way if the services need to be provided, we don't have to now go through the putting together of the contract to provide the service.
Any other questions? If not, I get a motion to approve the contract that's submitted.
I make a motion to approve the contract.
Okay, Julie, is there a second? Okay, second by, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the contracts are approved as submitted. Okay, then we move on to presentation. Do you want to
Yes.
take over, Melissa?
I will, yep. So today we have Sheila here from Christian Servants. And then a few of our staff members as well who have been working diligently on the Toledo case. So if you recall since last spring, actually, we've been talking about relocating those two youth from the institution in La Crosse to bring them back into their home community in Kewanee here. So because that's such a big dollar mark and such a big endeavor for our county, you had identified that you would like to learn more about Christian Servants as a provider, and you'd like to learn more about the process of relocating these children. So that's what we're going to do today. That's kind of the summary. Chad is going to provide a little bit deeper summary, and then we're going to toss it over to our staff who are so deeply involved with this process.
Yep, so a little historical background information on this case. In July of 2020, two children, they were aged 10 and 7.5 at the time, were placed in out-of-home care into county foster homes. In October of 20, the children were moved to Oconomowoc at a residential care center called Genesee Lake. In March of 22, they were moved to La Crosse at a facility, a residential care facility called Cholita. The children's venue switched to Kewaunee County in March of 22. At the time of change of venue, the children were placed out of home care yet with really no aftercare plan and no planning to get these kids back out of that residential care facility. It has been the county here, we have just got our units together, we got some service providers together to brainstorm how we get these children out of that residential care facility back into a parental home. Based off the assessments that we use with the state, the child and adolescent needs and strengths, the children are indicated to have a level of need that is a 3 or 4, which is above. It's be a treatment level foster home is what their level of need would indicate. So now present day, we have children who are now 12 and a half and 10. We're anticipating returning the children home within the next couple of weeks. And this is due to the collaborative efforts that the county has done with service providers. And these little children have been in a residential care facility for almost 2.5 years. So it's based off the collaborative efforts that we've done here in the county and service providers to really hone a plan and to get these children out of that residential care facility back into a home setting with a biological parent. So turn it over to staff to indicate what they have done, the efforts they've made behind the scenes to make this happen.
So I want to do just a quick introduction. We have Brittany, who works in child protection and youth justice, and Shannon, who works in children's waiver. So Shannon is instrumental in this case because of her expertise in working with children with autism specifically, and then in general, just kids with specialized needs. So the partnership that Brittany and Shannon have made in this case has just been phenomenal. So it's not real common to see staff working, not just Kewaunee County. I think we do a better job in Kewaunee County, but across the state, it's not real common to work so closely across units. So in child protection and children's waiver, it's really, you know, kind of siloed, but to see those barriers broken down and the collaborative efforts, it's phenomenal to see the work that is being done to support these children. And then from a financial standpoint for the county to be able to hone in on the funding sources through children's waiver to support the kids served in child protection. Again, it's unheard of, but it's going to be a wave of the future for sure. So Brittany and Shannon.
Yeah, so like Jen said, that this case was transferred to us in late March. Once we were able to meet with the girls and after placement, we knew that we wanted to get them out as soon as possible and get them back in home. We were able to meet with the children and staff at placement, learning more about their needs and what helps them. We began researching additional community living programs, foster care, or treatment foster care, past schools that they went to, even some school staff that they were kind of close to that knew their needs, to see if they were willing to take on placement or even provide respite care. We also talked with several other organizations that provided day services and in-home support, which resulted in us connecting with Christian Servants, who was open to supporting the needs that needed to be met for this family and the children to be in home. Once we were able to get all of those services possible, we had team meetings that included mental health staff, CLTS, CST, CPS, and school staff, where everybody was able to kind of collaborate, work together to figure out what we needed to get these girls or get the children moved back in home. And an essential part was CLTS, needing more services to get them back home.
So yes, so I, with the waivered services, so I will be supporting the girls directly. However, as a team, we are looking at the family unit as a whole. I mean, obviously, after 2.5 years to reunify, we had to look at it with a sensitivity as to how do we best not only support the girls, but also support the family as a unit. And so I had the privilege, Brittany and I got the privilege of working with Dad and actually bringing him to the table. What does he need from a waiver standpoint? My vision is not only like a waiver vision is not only what do they need to be successful to meet their disabilities, but we also are looking at what are the barriers there may be for the family as a whole. So Brittany and I would go to lacrosse to see the girls, not only for me to gain an assessment on what those needs were, but also for us to be there and to see what the environment was, see what supports we're going to need to transition. Then we collaboratively provided some opportunity for the family to reunite after this long. They had not had an opportunity to do that. So I had the privilege of going to lacrosse on the weekends with the family where they could reunite with the girls. We go swimming. And it really was, I was able to get a better feel for what this is going to look like when we transition. This is such a huge, how do we really incorporate this in what manner are we going to be able to do that? So since then, as we get closer, then we have been looking at also what are some home barriers. I mean, they have some basic needs that need to be met. So we're starting to do the relocation piece where waiver services are able to provide some supports. For example, the girls will need a bed, so we were able to utilize that and put that into place. Also instrumental in this has been Sheila's participation from a standpoint on what are we going to need to sort of replicate the staffing that's currently there under 24/7 supervision right now. There's always a staff there. How do you do this? How do you make this happen in a home setting? And we were very, very fortunate to that Christian Servants and Sheila were willing to say, hey, let's see if we can make this happen and let's look at this creatively and how, what is our next step? And so we're getting to a point where we've got some finalizing with the state to see about what the service and staffing model is going to look like to make sure that the family is in a good position, the girls are in a good position for this transition. And I think we are almost ready to go. Fingers crossed. I mean, of course, there's always additional paperwork we're dealing with. So, but once again, the joys of that. But with that, I guess what I'd like to do is explain a little bit more, or have Sheila explain a little bit more about their provider. I mean, we've worked with Sheila in different capacities for other clients, and that's kind of how we developed that relationship. So we're really honored to be able to bring them to the table, but it'll be nice for you to kind of explain what you do and what, your vision is.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm Sheila Higginbotham. Our company is a younger company. We started in 2019 in the Appleton area. A brother and sister team decided that they could do better by providing a better source of qualified candidates and paying them a better living wage. Most of our management team works remotely from home. My husband and I do this together. His name is Brian Higginbotham. He actually his grandmother is from Kewanee, Myrtle Zemer. I don't know if you know her or heard of her, but we've spent a ton of time here and our family loves it in Kewanee. So maybe someday we'll move here, but Brian and I oversee multiple counties. We oversee Door County, Brown County, Kewanee County, Oconto County, Shawano County, Marinette, Manitowoc. So we have quite a big team of people that we work within. We work with 24/7 clients. We work with CLTS clients, and we work with the senior population to end of life. So we are well-versed, have a large group of people that we serve. And I say that because it's not intimidating for me to take on this case. I'm excited about it. I had the pleasure of meeting Dad and the 3 little ones that are at home. And they've captured my heart. They're very well-behaved children that are very quiet and calm. And so to me, I have now this personal investment into trying to make this really succeed. And I'm excited. I've got caregivers waiting to get started. So it's just a matter of getting things, T's crossed and I's dotted so that we can just jump right in. So the staff keeps asking, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go? And I'm like, hold on. So this is good. We will be pulling some caregivers from Green Bay that have experience because we don't have a huge team in this geographic area. So that is something that is a little bit of an obstacle that we had to overcome. But those people that we would be pulling from Green Bay have experience, have with kiddos, have done overnight cares. things like that. So it's not a situation that's brand new to them. Okay, so what are your questions for me? I feel like I'm just talking at you and I would like to help answering questions.
Tell me the name of what department that you're working with.
So our company is called Christian Servants Home Care. Yep. A lot of folks, when the company got started originally with the name like Christian Servants, you might think that we're gonna proselytize, and that's not the case. So our company has made itself available to those folks that are end of life care, that's a big core value for them. And they would like us to pray with them and things like that. But that comes at the request of the client, not something that we put forth all the time. I was actually in a meeting with Shannon, meeting some parents doing an assessment in Kewaunee County. And they did not know the name of our company. We conduct ourselves in a way that it's meant to be across the board fair. And this family looked at my card at the end, and I was really pleased to know that they didn't see any difference in the care that we had been providing anyway, I don't know. I just want to clarify that we service all different types of people. We hire all different types of people, and we assign like with like. So that we know if there's someone that really needs a lot of attention in the field of the company name, then we definitely align them with that type of caregiver. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to clarify.
Did we get your name? I got Brittany and Shannon
Sheila.
and you're Sheila.
Sheila Higginbotham. And I actually brought my husband's business card because I feel like you all know who I am. And we don't say husband, but because obviously we share the same last name, you'll figure that out. So, but I brought his card in case anybody wants that for any type of further information.
Sheila, can you talk, I know that you collaborated so closely with our team here in Kewaunee. Can you talk about that experience as it relates to other counties too? Have you been satisfied with that level of collaboration?
I think Kewaunee does a fantastic job. It's a pleasure to work with Kewaunee County. I think you go above and beyond in the sense that you really put your members' needs first, as opposed to other counties that have more limitations in place that may inhibit the growth or the execution of quality caregiving quickly. So it has been a pleasure. We've had multiple conversations, weekly meetings, Zoom calls, things like that. So I have a really good understanding of what is needed for this situation for Cholita. And it was really great to go do a home visit and see the home before the girls are there, so that I have an anticipation of what's to be expected and what needs might be needed to be met. My team, I have been coaching them a little bit above and beyond too. I want them to help dad make meals and things like that. That might not necessarily fall into the waiver program, but I feel that there's a need to help support dad a little bit more for when he gets home. If we can help do the laundry and things like that, dependent upon how if the girls are willing to be with us and not. Yeah, it's. I am stumbling for my words because now I'm getting nervous.
You're doing just fine.
Thank you for the encouragement. I brought you a Pringle, so that's okay. Just remember there's Pringle and you'll like me better. I don't know.
Sheila, I just want to ground you too in the fact that we have a really special committee, Human Services Committee. There's several members of the committee who have personal experiences with some of their family members actually having disabilities. So they really can relate to the level of support that's needed to keep children in special needs safe and healthy and able to thrive in the community. So I'm really pleased that you're able to be a part of the committee in this discussion and really understand what it's going to take for our staff and our community partners to make this a success.
The people that I brought on have experience in this field already, so for caregiving, so I'm really excited. I feel like we're well equipped for that. Some have bachelor's degrees and some are pursuing RN degrees. Currently, others have just quite a few years of experience within this field, so I'm excited to bring them to light and give them the opportunity to serve.
Okay. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Sheila or our staff? Yes.
So if somebody needs your services, they call this human service department here in the city and they contact you?
We have, the ADRC has our contact information as well as everyone here for the most part. But you could reach out to us directly as well, or if you have people that you know.
How do you reach you directly?
I will share the business card, but I can give you my phone number if that would be easiest.
No, well, not that.
Sure, but I brought business cards to share. I don't know if you want to just pass them around, but, and so you can reach out to us directly via the home office website or our phone number, email, all of the above.
Commissioner Chan, did you have, Sue, did you have any additional comments on just this process in general?
I make my usual comment, you guys have heard this more than once on it. In addition to what we're already doing for this family and the way that this kind of come together in an innovative way, I'm also looking forward to and very excited about how we now have the tools to possibly replicate this for future kiddos and families. So I think when you're a worker, I don't want to speak for you guys, but when you're a worker, we sit down at the beginning of this case and we're transferred this case, right? It comes to the CPS unit, we sit down, we gather our folks and are like, hey guys, what do we do? There aren't a lot of ideas at the table at that point that you have to build from there. So we bring in, the CLTS unit that is technically an institution for CLTS. You probably heard me say this before, is an ineligible setting. So to bring those folks in 6 months before we do a reunification, that's unprecedented. We do that because it serves these kids and it serves our county as a whole. So we work together and then we feel around a little bit for who's willing to do something with us that we just don't do a lot, right? You want to do what? You want to create an institution in the community, and we don't want to do that, but we want that level of fear. So Christian Servants comes along and says, sure, we'll figure that out with you. And yes, there's been some bureaucracy and there's been all kinds of things that will always, I suppose, try to kill a good idea or good intentions. But these folks have also worked really hard on what's the form, what are the numbers, what do we have to do to get this squared away, but then also, how do we push some of those folks at the state to say, if this is what you want us to do, this is how we need to do it, and be good advocates. So I listen to you guys talk, and I'm super proud of what you guys shared and how you shared it. This is not always the least intimidating situation for folks to come in and share their products. So I'm really happy with what you guys said and how you said it, but then also just we've given credit throughout, we really have, but it's an amazing thing to see this coming together in this collaboration, and I can't say enough, you heard it, this does not happen.
And
These kids in a
that's just
different
what I was
county
going to follow
are
up
still
on.
in this institution.
From an administrator standpoint, I'm always looking at two things. I'm looking at the client outcomes, but I'm also looking at the dollars. And where I'm really proud of this department and the staff and the partners that we brought in, they're coming from Cholita, which is La Crosse, which has a lot more resources than what we do. And before that, were in Oconomowoc, which is Waukesha County, which has a lot more resources than what we do. And the answer was to make it sound as bad as or as worse as basically institutionalize them, put them in a home and be done. Because how many years have they now been in right? And so is that really in the best interest of those children? No. Yet you come into little rural 20,000 people, rural county, Kewaunee County. And our thought isn't, well, let's leave them there because then we don't have to deal with it. The thought is we need to get these kids out of there. We need to reunify them with their family as best as we can and support them as best as we can. Why? Because it's in the best interest of the kids. And then the icing on the cake, honestly, is not only is it in the best interest of the kids, but it's also a cheaper way to go. And I guess that's where not being as close to this or just enough to know what's going on from a county supervisor standpoint, from a committee member standpoint, look at the department employees and think of the amazing stuff that they've just done. They've taken 2 kids that have been in a group home, been in a home for 2 years, not with their family. We brought them back together and in that same respect, saved a significant amount of money. That's something that we should be really proud of and something that I'm really proud of for our employees and our partners to get that done. And that's something that more often than not, people will have no idea about that. Why? Because we can't share who they are. We can't say, well, it's Sally and Susie Smith, because professionally, that's not what we do. So again, from an administrative standpoint, I'm extremely proud of what these folks have been able to do, and I think you should be too. I'm not saying that you're not, I'm just saying that you should be too.
I'd like to just say a couple of things too. I really like the whole family community approach, that you're not just focusing on 2 littles, but it was looking at the whole family system and then how to incorporate them into the community because they are part of the community. And that's fantastic, but also the effort you put into it. I heard you say you took the family for the weekend. You gave up your weekend with your families, and so that they could be able to see their siblings, you know, their children. I mean, I can't as a parent, it's heart-wrenching. My 23-year-old lives out of state and I get to see him every 2 to 3 months. And that's heart-wrenching for me. He's an adult, but I can't imagine being a parent of a little that's 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and not being able to see them. You know, so that to me, that's selfless. You know, so that to me is worth millions.
There was certainly some work. It was very, I think somebody to watch the five kids together in a pool. He didn't make rules for it, but it was okay. It was approached. Thank you.
There's just so much like, yeah, I guess let's go do that. Right?
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Okay, and there's almost too many of those little things like Sue was alluding to just to even list, right? Like the drives, like she said, the weekends away. It's the what are you gonna do with that, right? Yep, we're gonna supervise a family outing on a weekend at a pool. Like you get to do what every other tip. Interesting and amazing. So again, credit goes to you guys. It really does. It's the idea that you guys believe in this and that we can do it. I think is the first foundation step we need. We have. Here's your thing, guys. Go run with it and need it.
And this has been a 6-month endeavor that we've been trying to formulate a plan to get these girls home, and the time effort that you 3 have put into this behind the scenes, that we don't even know the little things that you guys do to get this coordinated and get this on the ground running, that we're here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we have these girls back home, and it's been a long time coming. And like I said, the time effort that you guys have put in, the weekends, the trips, does not go unnoticed, and we are amazed. You guys give us updates all the time on we're here.
I also want to highlight, excuse me, when I get into my spiel about director updates, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Rhonda Rummel, but she couldn't be here today. She is going to be retiring at the end of the month. This is like 1 more week, I guess, especially.
Yeah,
To the
we'll
end.
be pushing out a bit now. Absolutely.
Excuse me, but she also was instrumental in this process. And, you know, it's lovely that she was able to accomplish this at the end of her career, for sure. This is something huge that, you know, has been remarkable for her as well. I really wanted her to be a part of this so you could see the work that she put into this process as well, but unfortunately she did not well. So couldn't make it today, but certainly wanted to make sure that you were aware that she was instrumental in this as well.
And the long term, just to make it a little, this is not done without thought or how this is sustainable. That's the other piece of this. So I think that's where, again, Christian servants and labor come in. And that, you know, we're going to eventually close this case, child welfare. Once these kiddos are home for a year with their father, this case will close with child welfare. But it will continue with waiver and with Christian servants to make sure that they don't hold, right? We can't predict the future. Things can happen, but there's been a ton of thoughtful planning and not only just doing the thing, but just reunification, but then also making sure reunification stays and that this family has the support that it needs long term. program that it is, much more financially sustainable than it is with just.
I just want to make a comment that I've been on human services for more than a decade. I think every year it's getting more and more positive here. I think that the group has done a wonderful job, and I think you need to be thankful that we've got a good staff as what we have here.
Thanks, Jim.
Any other comments anybody wants to make? Then we can move on to Brian.
Good morning, Alice. That's more exciting.
Yeah, keep the good news coming.
That's not gonna break.
Okay, quickly going through the financial report for November. Starting with the billing report. For November, we ended up billing about $225,000. December, so far, we're at 102. At average of $248,000 per month. We're going to probably come in around 2.9, maybe 3. That could get us about 1.7% higher than last year where we're running right now. So things are going good in that direction. State aid report, these are the contact with the state for our programs from the DHS, our CARS program. We've submitted $1.4 million and we've received back $921,000. So far, we're running about a reimbursement rate of $74,000 there. By year end, we're probably going to be in between 65 to 70 there. For SPART, our DCF programs, we have spent 1.1 in expenses and received 706 back. I don't expect a large amount of money to come in that area. Right now, we're running at 59.1%. By year end, we're going to probably be around 55% because we're submitting more expenses than what we're getting back because of some of the higher placement costs that we've had. Income maintenance, we have submitted 265,000, received back 196. Again, running about 79% currently. We're in a position where we're getting about 50% back right now of everything we submit. So by year end, we're going to be in that 70% ballpark again. Contract status report. This is for the December payments, which are mostly November expenses. So we will be getting a report for January payments of December expenses in year 2. We have done some addendums and a couple of them to get up our numbers in line, so everything was good there. And we did go through and the approvals of all the contracts for 23. Looking at the vendor payments for December, we have payments of $197,000 for the month, and this included payments of note of $62,000, $41,000 for Shalita, $10,000 for family services for you, institutional fees, and we had a roots payment of $11,000 for another residential stay. So you take those away, we are pretty much in line where we are monthly for our payments. Included in your packet are also the credit card statements for managers for the month of December. Looking at the financial statements for November, 11 months, our target percentage is 89.8%. Where we want to be. Looking at the admin, we are 145,000 of our budget, and revenues and expenses 84,000. We did receive $474,499 from Winter, which is not a budgeted item, so that's above and beyond. that we get back once a year. Going into economic support, are at 79% of revenues and 81% of expenses. Again, our expenses are down, so our revenues follow along with those. Going into children and families, we have had revenues at 119%, so above what we had planned because of subsidized guardianship payments and a large amount of TSSF money that came in during the year. We're also at 107% of expenditures, which are mainly because of the institutional costs that we had throughout the year. Here, for instance, has cost $317,000 a year, and we've received minimal SSI reimbursement. So that has driven that number up. But we're still okay there, I guess. Looking at the behavioral health fund per unit, we are revenues of 86.4%, so we're behind a little bit there, but we still have couple months of CCS money coming in there. And our expenditures at 91.2% are in line. And so far, Winnebago costs are included in this. We're running net costs for the whole year of 140,800. So built up into there. Going into the family and communities programs, we are at 107% revenues and expenditures of 104. Mainly this is CLTS driven. Our expenses have been higher than budget in CLTS, but we also receive more revenue. So what we submit, we get back. So expenses are higher, revenues are also higher. Going to the bottom line for the month of November, 11 goal is 89.8%. We're looking, our revenues are at 106, so we're above our target, and we're also above expenses at 97% of where we plan to be at. If everything were to end at the end of November, we're looking at probably coming in with a positive balance of 524,000. With 1 month to go, I think it's safe to say we will be over, have a positive balance at year end, probably 300,000 or more, depending what all plays out in the next couple months while we do our reconciliation.
I'm sorry, say that again, Brian.
300 or more?
I'm sorry, louder, I couldn't hear. Positive what?
300 plus.
Oh.
I'm not gonna stick my neck out so higher.
Well, all I heard was positive, and I heard that it had 5 zeros, so that's always checked.
Yeah, and just so you know, we started the year with a fund balance of 736 positives, so that would just go on top of that for future considerations.
So if it's at the end of 22, that would be a fund balance of a positive $1 million, correct?
Correct.
And it was, what was it, about 3 years ago?
I believe we were about 1.2 negative.
Again, to the committee, fantastic work from the staff. Okay, I'll stop. I guess when it's positive stuff like this, and yes, I'm a broken record, but that's the staff that we have. And I want to make sure that committee members and supervisors understand and recognize, and will also then recognize the staff for what is phenomenal work, not only from a financial standpoint, but then just previous to that, what we were doing with these 2 young children with institutional care and that type of stuff. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we have absolutely fantastic staff. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry. All I have.
Anybody have any questions for Brian? If not, we move on to Melissa then.
everything okay, Linda, or is there something?
We have to go to Manitowoc.
Okay, that's okay if you need to go.
Pardon?
That's okay if you need to go. From the Human Services Director report standpoint, I wanted to just touch briefly on the agency self-assessment. We had talked about that last month, but I was going to give you a little bit more information on that. This is something that we're trying to do annually, just to do a basic assessment of where we're at within our agency and come up with goals that we want to accomplish for our agency. So some of the things that were identified was working towards increased youth involvement in policy development. So this is with our coordinated services team specifically, but just looking at something that we could do as an agency as a whole to involve more youth in our programming and policy development. We also want to look at ensuring that we are in line with cultural awareness needs. So we took obviously some effort at this in 2022, and we're looking to expand that in 23 as well. We had our implicit bias training in 22. This year, we're going to highlight our Hispanic population and make sure that everything that's translated, needs to be translated, is complete. We're also looking at collaborating with VIP and other agencies to offer increased interpreter opportunities for our agency. We continue to explore increased collaboration. We're hearing a theme of that, I think, every month when we meet. So both internally and with our community partners, we will continue to look at the Initiative One process and see what we can do to improve that level of collaboration as a management team and then with our agency as a whole. So some of the areas that we really want to hone in on for 2023 are onboarding of staff. So that was something that was highlighted. We want to make sure that we're able to find really high-level candidates for our open positions. And then we want to do what we can to keep them from looking elsewhere. So supporting them from the minute that they start with our agency, ensuring that we're doing everything that we can to make them enjoy and appreciate employment with the county. And then we also, again, want to look at that cultural awareness and see what we can do to improve our sensitivity in that area. Any questions on the agency self-assessment?
Melissa, I don't know where this fits in. I know we're talking about different things. And I've said this to Scott, and I've said it to every department head I've talked to. We, as a county, need to look at when hiring people. What's difficult is the Hispanic and Latino population involved. But there is a very high population in Suwannee County. We don't do very well in terminating and doing things for that population. So if at all there's candidates out there, they should give them some consideration to get an in-house, not that we're hired an interpreter all the time to come on in. So very, very important that we really should concentrate.
Yes, I appreciate that feedback. Anything else about the assessment? And I'm going to move on to staffing updates in our transition. So as you know, as of the first of the year, Corinne, Chad, and I began settling into our new roles. Zach Weary posted internally and started in the Child Protection Youth Justice position. So that's.
Excuse me, can you say that over again?
Sure. So Corinne, Chad, and myself settled into our new positions as of the first of the year. And then Zach Weary was in Children's Waiver. He posted internally into Chad's vacant Child Protection position. So he has made that transition, but continues to support needs in Children's Waiver until that is settled.
And we don't have a name there for that.
Lynn is working on it. Next month, she will
Chad.
have it.
This is
This is
Chad.
Chad.
Chad Lizard.
You're not on the agenda.
I will be next month.
And you settled your position.
I'm the new Children and Families Manager, so I took Corinne's old position as she transitioned into Melissa's old position.
Everybody's shifting around.
Somebody asked me, how is the human service doing in Suwannee County? And I'm supposed to answer that in one sentence.
It's easy, one word, fantastic.
I think we're doing what we need to do.
Yes.
That works.
That's what I have said. And people that are needy,
Thank you, Rose. The children's waiver position then was vacant as a result of Zach transitioning. So we had an internal posting for that, and Laura Borkovitz has posted into that position. Laura has been working in the behavioral health unit for many years. She's been with the county for 20 plus years. So she will be switching into the children's waiver position. So the next step will then be to post internally for that vacant position. I think I had said spring, if you're going to be settled, so that's still my goal. Rhonda Rummel, as I mentioned earlier, will be retiring at the end of January. Her position has been posted externally and interviews are tentatively being scheduled for next Tuesday. In Rhonda's 26 years with the agency, she's made tremendous impact on so many families. She's been instrumental in bringing the coordinated services teams, the CST teams, to our county. She has ensured the safety of countless children within our community. Her dedication and advocacy for our youth and our families is just unparalleled. I was really hoping she would be here so that we could highlight her dedication and efforts, especially with regard to the relocation of our kiddos from the institution. But again, she's not here today. So if you see her, please wish her well as she moves into her retirement. As I mentioned last month, Maureen O'Shea has retired from our agency as well. She was in the behavioral health unit. So as you see on the agenda, this month I'm looking for a recommendation to fill the position that is left vacant as a result of her retirement. So we will have a needs assessment completed, but we are looking again for your recommendation to move forward to the executive committee to fill that vacant position. There's further discussion or questions, Jenny, if you can help us with that.
Excuse me, do you need a motion to fill this position?
That's my
Was it on the
understanding.
agenda?
Yes.
I so move that the position be filled, as stated.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I will second.
Okay, Tim second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, that is approved. Is there anything else to come before us?
I'll touch base on one more thing. Now with Laura having moved over from CSP to CLTS due to the hiring freeze policy, this committee will now have to approve that the CSP position can be filled. You
Just want
can't,
to pause on that
Sure.
because I think it's still a part of the trickle down effect.
I forget, did they
Yeah.
actually approve the trickle down? I never know with the executive.
Yeah,
So if so, then we're good.
I think we're good on
Okay.
that one.
I always worry because I don't want to be thought of that we're filling positions without approval. So,
The only other thing I just wanted to touch base on the CST committee, that's the coordinated services team. So I'm making an effort to just provide a brief summary of those subcommittee meetings here at the Human Services Committee. So Virginia is a part of the CST committee. That meeting was held on January 10th. There was a great turnout. The heart of CST truly is collaboration again. So it's always great to see community partners coming together to focus on our youth and what we can do to support their mental health needs. The mentoring programs that CST really helped facilitate in all of the 3 school districts are just thriving. So we continue to do what we can to support those needs as well. But thank you, Jenny, for your support on that committee as well.
At that meeting too, Lakeshore Cap came up from Manitowoc to talk about all the services they could offer for Kewaunee County and Scott and Melissa made arrangements that they can meet with people here and get literature. So I think we'll be utilizing them a lot more than we have in the past.
I missed going down there for the meeting.
That was all I had, thank you.
Okay. Then the next thing is to set up our next meeting. We want to go with the Thursdays at the 8:30 time frame. Is everybody happy with the 8:30?
Would
I don't
Mr.
think it'll
Kennard,
be 8.
okay,
Whatever you have to
8:30. I would prefer Mr. Kennard to work for 8 o'clock. For you.
8 o'clock. And yeah, okay.
Better, but that's okay.
8 o'clock.
It's dark.
Okay. Well, it's, I think it's good for staff too, to start off the day right away at the meeting instead of waiting around and,
We'll accommodate to whatever's
yeah,
best. for the
okay.
committee.
What date? Okay, what date we typically, would we be
The third Thursday of the month is what it typically is.
the 16th at 8 o'clock then? Is that okay with everyone? February 16th. February 16th at 8 o'clock. Okay, and then with nothing else coming for the group, then I need a motion to adjourn. So we, second to adjourn?
I'll second.
Okay, Julie second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 9:20. Okay, thank you.
Busy family.